Hey everybody, this is Ed Carbazel for MMAnews.com, and this is my Sunday submission. This is a new show we're doing here at MMA News. It'll be a weekly show. Hit the subscribe and like button below if you like it. Please drop comments, recommendations. I always appreciate them. And subscribe to the YouTube channel. We've got interviews with Tim Elliott, Leon Edwards, Rob Font. You'll see the magic of the busiest man on YouTube MMA, James Lynch. Shout out to James Lynch, Canada's greatest gift to the mixed martial arts. He does a lot of work here at MMAnews.com for great interviews. Some of my stuff is on here too, but I'm not as good as him. So as far as the video production and quality with all the fancy graphics and stuff. But that's why he's the man, and I do this on Sunday mornings before brunch and stuff. So anyway, lots of stuff to talk about in the world of mixed martial arts. Forgive me if I seem like I'm staring away. I'm bringing up the site so we could look at the top trending news of the week. Before I get into that, though, I gotta throw in my 2 cents. So a lot has been made of the welterweight #1 contender. Everybody seems to have their opinions. I know Daniel Cormier and Ariel Helwani went at it over on the ESPN show that they do on Monday, and I side with Cormier. So Ali, I can't pronounce his last name. Ali, the manager, he manages like a quarter of MMA fighting at the highest level. He manages Khabib and Daniel Cormier, Gilbert Burns. Folks are kind of like, oh, of course, Daniel Cormier is gonna side with Burns being the #1 contender because the affiliation, but that has nothing to do with it. I mean, Dana White, the UFC. I mean, Gilbert Burns has fought enough, and I'm on the side of Gilbert Burns just because he's a worker. He's a hustler. He already holds the title of, I think, most active fighter during a pandemic. Right, he fought at the beginning. I forget the Brazil one, where he knocked out Damian Maia, and then he did the Tyrone Woodley fight, right? And then so that's already two pandemic fights. He did it first before anyone else started doing. I feel like there's a third one in there that I'm leaving out. But even before that, like, he's always active, he's always ready. Sucks that he got sick. So I'm definitely on the and the UFC saying that Gilbert Burns is #1 contender for next in line for the welterweight title. So you can put me on Team Dorino. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. I've interviewed him before for grappling stuff. So maybe I'm a little biased in that, but I mean, he's got the active schedule and wins to do it. And I know James Lynch talked to Leon Edwards, so check out that interview. I'm sure they addressed it too. And no offense to Leon Edwards, but I just if the ranking, I know the rankings, we've said a lot about rankings in the past, and there's been a lot of chatter about how much weight they carry or don't carry anymore. But hey, it is what it is. And as far as I'm concerned, Dorino's Gilbert Burns is the #1 contender. So that's where I'll leave that. But a lot of stuff that happened this week. So the UFC's done 251, then Wednesday night, and then last night, three events in Abu Dhabi Fight Island. So Fight Island has not been disappointing. It looks like outside of the timing, I know folks like Laura Sanko and other people, even Joseph Benavidez, who lost to Davison Figueiredo last night for the flyweight title. Even he said, it was 6 a.m. He got this is a quote from him at the post-fight press conference. I got my ass kicked at 6 o'clock in the morning. So, I mean, it's a weird time to. I personally can't even get activated until 7:30-ish in the morning when I do my own training, which I don't like the way my face looks on this. Looks like I need to do a little more training. But yeah, so it's it's a weird time to be fighting to keep up with that ESPN or ESPN Plus broadcast schedule. And that's the other thing. I know we're not going to write about this on the site, so I'll mention it now. ESPN Plus apparently, I'll say crap the bed because this isn't my YouTube channel. During the co-main and main event, which obviously that's what everybody was waiting for, and it's crazy. So you look at the heel hook submission Hermanson got over Kelvin Gastelum was a co-main event result, and then obviously the submission finish that the new flyweight champion got over Benavidez. But Ariane Lipski's knee bar. What else happened last night? There was a lot of subs on that. There was a lot of subs on that card last night. But if you look at like all the submission wins from, and I'm sorry I'm focusing. There was some knockouts and TKOs and stuff too. But submissions are such tricky things. And if I didn't mention it last week, I'm a jiu-jitsu guy myself. I'm always impressed with when you're able to pull off submissions with all the other elements of fighting. There was a lot of submissions in Abu Dhabi this week. That knee bar was impressive from Lipski. Lots of RNCs, rear naked chokes, and then for me, was it Anaconda choke? Was it an Anaconda choke? No, it was a Darce from who they're going to have him fight. They said the post-fight press conference last night. Khamzat Chimaev, who's he made his debut, and he had that dominant first round finish over Phillips. I think John Phillips was his opponent, and that whole sequence, that whole sequence of how he just kind of pounded him out to get the submission, or was it the second round? I don't remember. You'd have to check the results. We have all that stuff up at MMAnews.com, so you can backtrack. But they're gonna have him fight again, and I think he's fighting at 170. He fought that fight at 185, but he wanted another fight, and then Dana White confirmed at yesterday's press conference that they actually are gonna have him fight again this coming Saturday. So we're definitely gonna see a lot. He's like a welterweight, middleweight Khabib the way he fought. It's crazy, just the dominance that he showed in that fight. So definitely look out. I feel like this whole COVID-19 pandemic situation, it's hard to find any positives in what's going on. But when you're looking at mixed martial arts and the fact that the logistics behind it, as far as booking fights, it looks like the opportunity for fighters that you've never heard of before, never seen before, it's never been more abundant until now. And it really is as if based on if you're ready to go, and you're on any kind of radar on the regional scene, somehow your name will get to the UFC. And just the opportunities that are there. I mean, even at the beginning, if you look at how Justin Gaethje wound up the interim title, the interim champion for lightweight, it's because he was willing and ready to go. I mean, at the beginning it was scarier, but now with there's spikes with the COVID-19 situation. I know, and I'm not trying to turn this into that, but because there's other stuff to get to as far as MMA news. But I just think that there's an opportunity out there for fighters that want to fight. And more times than not, if you look at the interviews, I mean, fighters that I've spoken to during this period, Lynch and Cole Shelton, that have interviewed guys, there's more guys more ready to go than not. So I think that it's kind of cool to see something positive come out of the problems. And again, I'm not trying to make light of the whole pandemic or anything like that, but speaking of which, with the MMA moving forward and returning and presenting opportunities, some of the news that came out this week, with UFC only took like a couple of weeks pause before they returned, and then LFA, Legacy Fighting Alliance, came back this month. Boxing has been doing their bubble at the MGM Grand with holding events. If you're one of the 300,000 or so people that are tuning into that on ESPN, and then Bellator. People were waiting to see what Bellator was gonna do, and shout out to Bellator for I feel like being first to take the appropriate measures for safety, but then waiting until things were calming down. I mean, of course, we'll probably get like Dana White said, you're going to get COVID positives as we move forward with all the testing. But Bellator announced this week that they're going to do their own bubble or their version of Fight Island or what have you. Scott Coker called it the Fight Sphere over here in the Northeast region of the United States in the Connecticut at the Mohegan Sun. Now, if you don't know, Mohegan Sun Arena has hosted so many Bellator events. The relationship that the Bellator has with the Mohegan Tribes Athletic Commission, Mike Mazzulli, they use them to sanction events when they travel outside of places that don't really handling the sanctioning of MMA. So they have a great relationship with them. Usually when they go, to do their stuff in Europe and Italy, they tap them to help with sanctioning stuff and rules and safety and things like that. So this coming Friday, July 25th, August 7th, August 14th, and then September 11th, hopefully, if there's no spiking or anything in Connecticut, if you don't know, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and I forget whom else is kind of trending low with the COVID-19 pandemic numbers. So they're going to do closed off events at the Mohegan Sun Arena. Ricky Bandejas versus Sergio Pettis is the main event, and a lot of fighters are getting booked. Taiwan Claxton's on that card. Jake Smith, fighter who I've interviewed a few times, I'm going to try to get an interview with this week. Jake, shout out to you if you're watching. Let me know when you're free. He's on that card. And I know Logan Storley was on that card. I think that might be who Jake Smith is filling in for against Lemminger, but I'd have to check the changes. But stuff like that's going to happen. Again, if you're ready to go and you're healthy, it looks like no matter the promotion, you're going to get tapped for a fight. And if fighters want to get paid, they got to fight, right? If that's the life that you chose, and shout out to all those guys that are willing to risk and sacrifice that much. I mean, it really is for entertainment, for our entertainment, and but for them it's about legacy and glory and things like that, and the money's nice too, obviously. So that's Bellator's plan. Thank God that they announced their return, because that's one a podcast that I do in the Coast to Coast Combat Hour. We were actually worried about, okay, everyone's coming back, and Wate Medicos announced their August return. Ryzen's doing events in August, and everybody was kind of waiting on. Bellator's kind of considered, if you're new to the site and new to the sport, if you're looking at the promotions, it for a lot of folks always say it's UFC, Bellator, and then you can juggle whomever is underneath that. A lot of I think the Professional Fighters League is number 3, and they canceled their whole season, so that I hope that doesn't affect them. But you got guys being vocal about it. Lance Palmer, he doesn't need money because he won 2 years in a row the $1 million prize at the Professional Fighters League. But he's been vocal this week about wanting to fight. So, I mean, they got to do something. Palmer, Kayla Harrison have been vocal about not being. I mean, we're ready. It's July. It's halfway through the year. I mean, if you choose the fighting life, losing it, especially in martial arts and training, I mean, it is a young man's game. So the time is something you really don't have. You can't afford to waste when it comes to training and being ready and stuff like that. So I don't blame them for being vocal about it. But another thing is, so they made the announcement. I know we published the article about Adesanya versus Costa being booked. But at the post-fight press conference last night, Dana White said that that's not a done deal yet. He was actually a little upset with Combate was the one that broke that news, and there's folks making their little graphic posters and stuff like that, but Dana White said that that's not a done deal yet. So, ouch. Hopefully nothing. I mean, let's be honest. It's not like we haven't seen UFC events fall apart before. Remember, it was supposed to be Khabib Ferguson before it was Khabib Gaethje, and Gaethje put the Khabib Ferguson curse to bed by getting his win, and now it, we'll be looking at him and Khabib at some point. That question was asked during the post-fight press conference last night, and Dana White did say, like, I'm not bothering him. We're not bothering him. Like, he'll let us know when he's ready. So as far as Abu Dhabi is concerned, if you watch all of Dana White's addressing the future, I mean, when he gets back to Vegas, he said that he's going to try to get things planned up until like October. They're definitely going to be returning to Abu Dhabi in September, October. Going back to Nevada with things shutting down again, there were concerns about being able to hold stuff at the UFC Apex. So I wouldn't be surprised if they make a return to someplace else if they can't use the Apex to hold events. But for their international guys like Adesanya Costa, he did say when they do confirm it, it's going to be at Abu Dhabi because they're both Brazil and Australia, and so all those like fighters like that you want to see fight. I know they main evented Usman and Masvidal there, but you're not going to see the big name fighters from overseas. I mean, the whole point of Abu Dhabi and Fight Island is to have a place to have the fighters fight, the international fighters, and that's pretty much. I mean, it'd be hard to fly everyone to Abu Dhabi, so that's why they're coming back home to the States and trying to hold some fights, for the U.S. based fighters. But it looks like it's going to be a back and forth thing. I mean, until who knows, maybe November, but who knows with everything going on. So Abu Dhabi is definitely going to be where Adesanya and Costa are done when they do finalize it. But according to Dana White and the press conference, that's not done yet. But I mean, we got Daniel Cormier and Stipe Miocic to look forward to in the coming the next big pay-per-view from the UFC. I know for the Bellator events, I mean, they're just getting back, but that's a solid main event for them. But there's talks about Ryan Bader being on one of these 4 cards. And if we take a look at I laugh when I see Henry Cejudo chime in. One thing, Henry Cejudo keeps chiming in, but I think it was after or before the weigh-ins, whatever the because with everything going on, Dana White has been making it a point to address the media almost after any little thing that involves weigh-ins or what have you. And one of the things somebody asked him about, because Henry Cejudo keeps saying he wants to do 145 and come back, but he said he's retired, so I'm not thinking about him anymore. So, I mean, the retirement is it's a strong word to use. It looks like, especially during now with the UFC. So Dana White has always said if fighters thinking about retiring and they mention it, then they should probably retire. And you can't help but agree with that. But it looks like if you are going to use it as a bargaining chip, it also deletes you from their radar. So it might be something to think about, because it looks like Cejudo's probably already missing, training and stuff like that. When you're a lifelong competitor, I mean, we've seen it before. How many times have fighters retired only to come back? George St. Pierre came back for that one off against Bisping at UFC 217. I'm trying to think whom else. I mean, Tito Ortiz has retired 4 times. Yeah, I mean, Sonnen retired once or twice. I mean, he's staying retired. It looks like he's sticking to it. But so the point is, fighters, when you compete, and training your whole life, and your body starts telling you it's time to close that book. It seems like a heavy book to close. So I don't know, but with Cejudo, you never know. He's doing the cringe stuff. I mean, he's talking about boxing Ryan Garcia, and then we haven't heard anything about that lately. So you never know when it comes to fighter retirements. Another thing is, I know we saw last weekend Paige Vanzant's exit from the UFC in her last fight against Amanda Ribas, and so Ribas has obviously skyrocketed in her UFC stardom, we'll say. And but Paige Vanzant, Scott Coker said that they're gonna try to talk to her. I wouldn't be surprised if she goes there. Austin Vanderford, who's a great dude, a great fighter. He used to fight at welterweight, believe it or not, when he fought at Victory Fighting Championships. I interviewed him way back then, and they weren't even married. I think they were engaged. I forget if they were married or engaged. I don't remember. But anyway, it would be nice to see a competitive couple. But she talked about the money she's made versus what she could do elsewhere, and she's got other things going on. But it would be fun. I think it'd be fun for the sport and MMA if they were together over there at Bellator. So we'll see. But she got submitted. One thing about it, I got to say about last night's submissions too. The heel hook from that Kelvin Gastelum got. If you look at the way that was set up, I don't mean to jump back to the flyweight, the Davis and Figueroa event from last night, but there were so many submissions on that card. That heel hook set up. Kelvin Gastelum did the right thing trying to spin out of it, but he hooked his far leg with his left leg, if I'm remembering right. So he cinched up the heel hook with his right leg, and then his left leg hooked the far leg. So if you can't spin your hips, you can't spin out. You can't spin. I don't want to say out of because if you spin away from when someone's torquing a submission like that and you spin away from it, you make it worse. So, and I think I mentioned last week, sometimes with the chokes, like a sign of a good clean choke is like when you think you're getting the fighter that's getting choked thinks they're getting out of it and they go out. That's kind of what I mean. Well, Benavidez got knocked in the head too, but that's kind of how I viewed that the submission that came to him. He probably wasn't all there when he got submitted, but the heel hook from Hermansson, Kelvin Gastelum was doing everything right, but so was Hermansson in hooking. So the bottom half of the body, you have two accesses. You have your shoulders and you have your hips. The spine goes down the middle. So if you're twisting out to move away from the torque, to alleviate the torque on your heel, you need to your hips to you spin your hips. They have to rotate all the way over. So by hooking that leg, Hermansson hooked that leg. He stopped Gastelum from being able to make the full rotation and alleviate the pressure. But that's the whole point of hooking the far leg too, is to stop that. And that's where you get the tap. And I know I talked about chokes last week, and how folks. I mean, chokes are fun. You get choked out, you wake up when you're not getting beat anyway, and knocked in the head. If it's there. If you're just grappling and you get a nice clean choke that doesn't mess with the windpipe and stuff, you wake up and everyone laughs. It's funny. But leg locks and joint locks in general are a whole different game, especially. But when you go to leg locks and stuff. So again, with the Lipsky fight, that's one. If you look back at that, and the scream that her opponent let out, leg locks are no joke. Generally, when you feel pain, it's usually a sign that it's already too late. A seasoned grappler will know to tap before damage like that is done. Most seasoned grapplers, the image of Vinny Magalhaes, who let his ankle get twisted 360 degrees around when he went against Craig Jones at Submission Underground. That was one that just jumped in my head when I thought about that. But even still, so you have to recognize when the move is there before the damage is done. But that just comes with time and training. And the thing with competition is sometimes you get this thing, I'll never tap, and referee has to save me type of mentality. That's the difference between these athletes and, you know, the hobbyists like myself. You know, they'll let stuff bend the other way or get knocked out or get choked out because they're chasing their dreams. So one thing from the grappling world, it looks like they're going to do Mason Fowler versus Craig Jones again at Submission Underground on August, is it 17th or August 30th? So if you watch that, there's controversy over the win. Mason Fowler became the Submission Underground champ against Craig Jones, who's been winning for months over there and on the grappling scene. So the controversy is coming from Craig Jones not tapping, which he did not. But he was making a lot of noise. That was the first thing I noticed. So Mason Fowler, it was in overtime. Mason Fowler took his back, and he didn't come under the neck for the choke. He locked his face in his arms and, you know, twisted his body one way and the head the other way, which is a neck crank, which is very painful. You'd be hard pressed not to make any noise when that's happening. According to the Submission Underground rules, which they shared on social media, that counts as a verbal tap, which is why the loss was issued. Gordon Ryan, Greg Jones, and all those guys were voicing their complaint because he didn't tap. I mean, martial arts and fighting, if you look back at, like, if you've ever taken a karate class, where they make you ki, and so noises aren't foreign to it, so I understand both sides of it. I don't make a lot of noise when I grapple, but I do make a lot of noise in striking when I was training in striking. I'm an old man now, so that's why I have a face for radio and not these YouTube things. But I'm sure you guys will chime in as I make more of these. But the point being, you know, when two people are in a state of combat like that, sometimes noises come out. I mean, what if you're lifting somebody and you make a grunt lifting a guy up? I mean, you know, is that a verbal tap too? You're the one doing all the work, and the other person's waiting to get slammed. So I get the argument for stuff like that. But you know, when you're looking at, that's the competitor mindset, but then you have to be objective and put your mind into the position of a referee. And this goes for, and I know we got some bad referees. I can't even remember the guy's name that we didn't see him. We didn't see him last night. What was the guy that kept on making the stand-ups happen? I think it was on the Wednesday event that even Bisping and the commentators were chiming in on it. But you know, yeah, you have to be objective when you're watching these things. So if you try to look at the referee and his duty as someone that's supposed to be there to protect the fighters from themselves, you know, they're always come under fire over, you know, quick stoppages, poor stoppages, and this case with Craig Jones and Mason Fowler at Submission Underground falls under that. And I think you could look at a couple of other cases where there's arguments for and against it. That one ref from the event at an MMA at the UFC Fight Island event, I'm not on that referee side. A lot of people weren't with the stand-ups. You know, the fighters were working, and it was the Al Hassan and Lazier fight, I think it was, where the fighters were working clear past the guard and side mount, and you know, that's a position that fighters should be able to work from, and the referee made them stand up a couple of times. That everybody, fans, the cage side commentators were just kind of like, oh my god, what's going on here? So but anyway, that's 3 events in the books for the UFC, and we got Bellator coming back. I hope my rambling of these news updates was at least entertaining to you. There's just so much going on in the sport, and as we move forward, it looks like a lot of stuff is coming back, so there'll be more to talk about. I hate to be just so UFC heavy, but I mean, again, they've been the ones going the most. That's going to change obviously this Friday with the Bellator 242. The prelims will be on their YouTube channel, And then Paramount Network is going to broadcast all those 4 events that I mentioned earlier from Mohegan Sun. I'm actually going to try to get there for MMAnews.com. Not this Friday. I do want to try to make the August events though. So make sure you, again, follow MMA News, like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Carbazel on Twitter. I usually share all the stuff that I write for MMAnews.com and everywhere else I write for. And again, we got more interviews coming. And stay tuned. Again, feedback for this is greatly appreciated. This is new. So you feel free to tag me on Twitter if you think I'm rambling, I stutter too much, my face is too ugly, my hair's too long, whatever you want to tell me, by all means go ahead and leave the comments below or tag me on Twitter and let me know what you think. I'm so glad that MMA, one thing I got to say before I close, the sport of mixed martial arts has always been climbing an uphill battle. When you look at from when it started to when it had no rules and they were calling it human cockfighting. So the fact that it's here and ESPN covers it now, and this thing about moving forward during a pandemic, you know, MMA is used to hard times and moving forward. So I think this is just an example of, you know, the sport has always been kind of like in a dark area, and the fact that in 20 plus years the sport's grown so much that we've actually found a way to move forward when other sports can't move forward, and there's folks that are trying to follow suit. You know, it says a lot about the sport of mixed martial arts. So hopefully as the sport grows, MMAnews.com and everyone else covering the sports can grow with it, and it's an example of you know, maybe we're not this maybe the sport is not such a taboo bad thing. What I'm trying to think of, Meryl Streep once kind of knocked mixed martial arts in a speech she made a couple of years ago. I wrote a thing about it over on LinkedIn because it was a very personal. I found it to be a very personal attack. So I wrote a thing about on mixed martial arts. You know, it is mixed martial arts. Martial arts as a whole isn't a form of art when you look at the movements and the things. I know it's brutal when you're watching it in the cage, but when the technique and the training and everything, you know, that these competitors do, it is an art form to them. I mean, if it wasn't, we wouldn't be tuning in to watch it for entertainment. So again, I know I'm getting a little opinionated on it, and I'm going a little longer than I should. But I just feel like it needs to be said. You know, a lot of folks were knocking moving forward during the fight, but at the end of the day, fighters want to fight, and martial arts is it's about discipline, perseverance, and dedication. You know, folks don't get black belts because they look for reasons to quit. They get them because you know, and championship belts and things like that. It's because you keep going. And if I'm going to quote someone, I'll quote Joseph Benavidez from his post-fight presser after his loss last night. He said there's no quit in him, and he's you know, he's that was his 4th title shot. And you know, whether or not, if he decides to announce his retirement, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week, that's on him. But you know, that's just a testament of what this sport brings to the table. And you know, hopefully all you new fans tuning in because there's nothing else on, I hope you stick with it, and maybe we'll stick with this, and I'll stick with this show. And that's it. That's my Sunday submission. I'm tapping out.